What is down, everybody? It is your main course, Little Pancake, and today we're back with another tier list video. Tom Hanks. You've seen him in movies before, I'm sure of it, right? Very good, very talented actor. He's been in a lot of very good movies, and I'm pretty sure he's a decent guy. I've never met him before. I know, that's crazy. You would have thought that I've met him by now. You would think that we're good friends, but not yet. He's made a lot of very good movies, right? I haven't seen all of his movies, of course, but I'm going to be ranking the ones that I have seen. And there's quite a few of them. So we're just going to hop right into it. First one is Toy Story. This one right here. Toy Story is a pretty good movie. I mean, yeah. I wouldn't say it's amazing. I mean, it wasn't like one of my favorites. I'm going to throw it A tier. I mean, it's an original, you know, it's a classic. You gotta love it a little bit, so I'll throw it A tier. And then we have Toy Story 2. Not as good as the original, I don't think. I don't think any of the Toy Stories are as good as the original, but I'm gonna throw it B tier. I mean, I don't think that it's as good as the original. I mean, it's pretty clear. The original one's pretty good, it's not amazing, it's not great. Then all the second, third, fourth, they're all alright, you know. I wasn't a huge Toy Story fan when I was a kid. I never really hopped on the Toy Story train, so to speak. And the same goes for Toy Story 2 and 3. I mean, 3 and 4. I'm just going to throw them all in B tier, because they're all good movies. I just don't think any of them are as good as the first one, and I don't think any of them are really good. You know what I mean? Next up, we have The Green Mile. Now, this is a spectacular movie, okay? If you haven't seen it before, I definitely recommend it. It is mature audiences, right? So don't like show it to a kid or something. But it is a very good movie. Basically the plot, I'm not gonna like spoil or anything, but the plot is that this guy goes to jail, goes to like death row for something that he didn't do. And it's really good. There's like dark magic is involved, you know, Tom Hanks is the like prison guard. There's a mouse that like does acrobats and stuff. It's a very good movie. It's going to be an S tier movie for sure. Next up is the Da Vinci Code. Now I just recently watched this actually, and it was very good. I wouldn't say it was S tier, but I'm going to put it A tier. Very long movie. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but it's a very long movie. It's one of the movies that makes you think. Like, you have to think, you have to be like, oh, well, how is this happening if that's happening, and this is happening, and that over there is happening, but this over here is not happening, and then the thing right here is not happening, and it is happening at the same time, and I'm just confused. But, very good movie. Okay, next up is The Circle. This had Emma Watson and Tom Hanks in it. It was a decent movie. It's a newer movie. It came out in 2017. I remember, like, watching it when it came out, because everyone was excited because it was Tom Hanks' movie. Kind of disappointing. It had a lot of potential. It could have been a very good movie. And I'm not saying it was a bad movie. It was still a decent movie. I mean, if you want to watch it, you can watch it. It's basically about how everyone's watching you at all times, like the internet and stuff. Like, you're always being watched and tracked and stuff. Which, you know, is a cool concept to, like, play with, but they could have done better. I'm going to throw it C tier. Okay, next up is Inferno. This movie was pretty good. It wasn't amazing, but it was pretty good. It's basically like this guy's trying to solve overpopulation. Kind of like the same thing with Thanos and the Avengers. He's trying to solve overpopulation. And his way of doing that is by releasing a disease, I think. I'm pretty sure that's how it went. He was going to release a disease into the water. It was going to like wipe out half the population or something. But I'm going to throw it B tier. A lot of action. A lot of Tom Hanks movies don't have very much action. He's kind of a like emotional actor. You know, he's not doing crazy stunts or anything. He's just showing emotion and connecting you with the movie. And he does that very well. So most of his movies are somewhat slow, but they keep you engaged. And now we have Castaway. Castaway, very good movie. It's going to be an S tier movie. If you haven't seen it, which I don't know how you could have not seen it, guy gets in a plane crash and he's stranded on an island. I don't remember the exact number, but it's like a long time. It's like 7 years or something crazy like that. And like he becomes friends with a beach ball Wilson online school and stuff. Yeah, I've had to make my own friends actually. Here, I'll show you one. Give me 1 second. This is my good buddy Easton. He does very well when zombies come and intruders try to come through the door. I'm like, hey Easton, good pal, good job, buddy. Yeah, he's my best friend. But yeah, it's a very good movie. Again, emotional. I mean, the guy's stuck by himself on an island. Not a whole lot of action, of course, but emotional and just connecting. And you're like, well, what would I do if I was stranded on an island? And then all this stuff. And it's a very good movie. Very good movie. Next up, we have Apollo 13 in 4K Ultra HD. Apollo 13 was again a slow movie. If you don't know, Apollo 13 was the space mission that went bad. Something happened. I don't remember exactly, but something happened in the spaceship, and they had to turn around and come back. And it's amazing that they survived, or maybe they died. Yes, they did survive. An oxygen tank failed, and they had to loop around the moon. This was a decent movie. I'm not a big space guy because, when I, try to think of space and stuff, my brain just, because my brain can't, articulate it, so it just, implodes on itself, and I'm just sitting there if it goes on forever, well then, how? And if it ends, it can't. What's past that? And it's maybe that's just me. Still a decent movie. I'm going to throw it B tier. A tier, sorry. Not going to say it's a great movie, but it's a good movie. And next up, we have, of course, Forrest Gump. This movie is amazing. You've seen it. You've had to have seen it, right? If you haven't seen it, go watch it because you're not a human. Great movie. S tier for sure. I used to think that Forrest Gump was based on a true story. I thought that Forrest Gump was a real person that just so happened to coincidentally be in all these situations. But it's such a good movie because, for those of you who don't know, Forrest Gump he's got some sort of autism or something, mentally he's not 100% there, right? Or so people think. Maybe it's all of us that are mentally messed up and he's correct, but who knows? So the thing, people think he's dumb, right? Because he's not as smart as us, right? But really, in reality, he's smarter than all of us because he's truly happy and he knows how to be happy and how to make other people happy. He helps people, he does everything he can, and he just enjoys life. It's a very good movie, as you can tell by my description. Next up is Captain Phillips. This movie is also very good. It's based on a true story. For those of you who don't know, there was a guy on, it was a storage ship or something, and they got overrun by Somali pirates. And they killed a bunch of people and then took Captain Phillips hostage. Then the Navy SEALs, I think, shot through this tiny window from a ship rocking up and down, shot through the window and killed the pirate and saved Captain Phillips. And it was crazy. And they made a movie about it. So, very good movie. This is one of the most action-filled of Tom Hanks movies. I'm going to throw it A tier. Okay, next up we have Saving Private Ryan. This was a very good movie. Another one that has a lot of action in it. Right, it was a war movie, World War II, I think. Could have been World War I, but I'm pretty sure it was about World War II. And basically they went to save this guy. I'm pretty sure the thing was that the guy, he was one of 4 brothers, and his 3 other brothers had already died in the war, and that they had to go save him so that his mother would still have a son, or something like that. Something along those lines. So it was really emotional and stuff. A lot of action, a lot of fighting, a lot of shooting and battles and stuff. Again, I'm going to throw it A tier. I don't think it's quite S tier. Okay, next up is You've Got Mail. This movie did not hit the right cylinders for me, okay? It was like partially a romance movie. It was kind of like a rom-com to an extent, but not. Probably one of my least favorite Tom Hanks movies that I've seen. Didn't have a whole lot. I'm going to throw it D tier. Next up we have A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. This was made for the Mr. Rogers guy, who I don't know a whole lot about. He wasn't really a part of, like, I was a generation like after him, so it didn't hit with me. To me, it was a pretty boring movie. I'm gonna throw it C tier. Okay, next up we have Sully. This was a pretty good movie. It's not about the monster from Monsters Inc. That's a different Sully. This one is about the guy who landed a plane in the Hudson River, I believe. So basically, they took off, and then they like flew into a bunch of birds, and the birds took out an engine, and then they had to land it in the Hudson River, and Sully was the pilot. So that's a pretty good movie. I'm gonna throw it A tier. Okay, next up is A League of Their Own. So I know a lot of people probably haven't seen this movie. It's basically based in, I think, World War II. All the men were shipped overseas to fight the war, so they let the women play baseball, right? So they formed a women's baseball league. A League of Their Own is where the name came from. And I think Tom Hanks was supposed to have some kind of disease or something that made it so he couldn't go to war, and so he was the coach. I'm pretty sure, if I recall correctly, he was the coach of the women's team. It's a very good movie, very funny, very kind of emotional. I don't know if emotional is the right word, but very funny, very entertaining. The phrase "there's no crying in baseball" came from this movie. If you've heard that before, that came from this movie. I'm gonna throw it S tier, honestly. It's a very good movie. And that's all the movies that I know that I've seen for sure. That's all I have for you today. That's the Tom Hanks movie tier list. But thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Like the video if you think that the video was worth a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. Watch that video over there. And I'll see y'all later.